The sound of footsteps echoed through the dimly lit corridors of the presidential residence, breaking the silence of the night. President Joe Biden, holding a stack of files, was deep in thought as he made his way to his office. The political turbulence and unexpected crises the country was facing weighed heavily on his shoulders. Just as he was about to open the door, he noticed someone was inside. Listen to the entire story, because there's a big secret hidden inside. Kamala Harris sat at her desk, focused on her computer screen. It was unusual for her to be here at this hour. "Kamala? What are you doing here at this time?" Biden asked as he closed the door behind him. Harris lifted her head slightly, her eyes glowing from the reflection of the dark screen. "I'm thinking about some things, Mr. President," she said, her tone more serious than usual. Biden leaned against the edge of the desk. "What about—" Harris took a deep breath and turned to him. "Did you read the intelligence report we received this morning?" Biden furrowed his brows. "Yes, it mentioned a security breach. But these things happen all the time. Why are you so worried?" Harris stared at him. "Because this is no ordinary threat, Joe. There's someone inside the presidential residence. I started looking into the leaked information and all the clues point to someone on the inside." Biden sat down in his chair and thought for a few seconds. "If we know this, why are we still silent?" Harris placed the documents on the desk. "Because this person might be more deeply embedded than we think. If we make one wrong move, everything could spiral out of control." Biden nodded. "Do you have any idea who it might be?" Harris tilted her head slightly, then looked directly into Biden's eyes. "I have a list of suspects, but most likely—" She paused. Biden leaned in. "Yes?" Harris hesitated for a moment, then continued in a low voice. "It could be someone we thought was protecting us the most." A deep silence fell over the room. Biden slowly got up and walked to the window. "If that's true, then we don't even know who we can trust." Harris looked at him without looking away. "Exactly why we need to be careful, Mr. President. And the reason I'm here tonight is to let you know you're not alone anymore." Biden pulled back the heavy curtains and looked out into the darkness. The lights of the presidential residence gave a faint sense of security. "So what do we do now?" Harris smiled, her eyes filled with steely determination. "First, we play the game by their rules, then we make our move. But one thing is certain, Joe. There's a traitor inside, and until we find them, none of us are safe." Just then, the phone in the room rang sharply. Biden hesitated before picking up the receiver. "Mr. President," said a trembling voice, "I need to see you immediately. There's an emergency." Biden stared at Harris. "Who is this?" "Someone from the Secret Service, but I'm not on a secure line. I need to see you alone, now." Harris grabbed the phone from Biden's hand. "You can't do this, Joe. If there is a traitor, this could be a trap." Biden shook his head. "But what if it's a real threat? Then we're facing an even bigger problem." Harris took a deep breath. "Then we go together. But we're not alone. I'll prepare a surveillance team. If this is a trap, we'll turn their game against them." Biden slowly nodded. "All right, then. But let's be careful, because tonight, everything could change." As the clock struck midnight, Biden and Harris moved quietly through the dark corridors. They got into the waiting vehicle and set off into the unknown, but they had no idea what awaited them. As the vehicle moved outside the city center, suddenly the radio signals began to distort. The driver adjusted his headset, but the signal was lost. Then, a vehicle suddenly appeared in front of them, blocking the road. Harris quickly reached for her gun. "This could be an ambush!" Biden, holding his breath, moved toward the door. Shadows were moving outside. Just then, the car doors slammed open, and dark figures appeared. "Mr. President, you need to come with us. It's for your safety." But there was no familiar expression on their faces. Biden and Harris, looking at each other in confusion, got out of the car. But once inside, what they found waiting for them was nothing like they expected. Inside the building, the highest-ranking official from the Secret Service, accompanied by unidentified individuals, approached them coldly. "Mr. President, we know you're in danger. We've come to confront the traitor inside, but for now you're in the safest place." Biden and Harris, as they looked at each other, began to realize just how deep and complex the situation they were in was. They were in shock. Everything had changed in an instant. A portion of the Secret Service had found the source of the leaks from inside the presidential residence, and these findings were a sign of a much more serious problem. What had initially seemed like a few missing pieces of information had now revealed the inner workings of an uprising. To fully understand what was happening inside the residence, they needed to act quickly and take the right steps. However, the source of this leak wasn't just one person. It was becoming clear that this situation signaled a much more complex and larger problem. The traitor inside wasn't just one person. It was a group of people. Despite being mentally prepared, the reality was that the people they least expected were a part of it. In other words, they were not only dealing with a betrayal, but had been drawn into a much bigger conspiracy. President Biden paused for a moment, his eyes trying to comprehend the gravity of the situation. He took a deep breath and gathered his thoughts. "So, tonight, here, we've lost control. We have to stay 2 steps behind everyone," he said. This sentence marked the beginning of a period they had never imagined, a time where everything was turned upside down. His anger and frustration were evident in every word, but he also realized they had to remain calm and composed. And at that exact moment, everything started to fall into place. The dark secrets of the past and the hidden betrayals slowly began to connect. As President Biden and Kamala Harris moved toward the end of this complicated game, they faced deeper truths with every step. They realized that the people they had trusted the most, those who seemed the safest and most loyal, were part of this traitorous plan. Biden, in shock, muttered to himself, struggling to accept the truth. Who was it? Who could go this deep and break the trust? But this wasn't just a question. It expressed a much deeper realization. President Biden, as he tried to piece everything together and secure the future, began to slowly understand the bigger picture. Harris, looking at the president calmly, said, "Joe, this isn't just a betrayal. This is a conspiracy. And this conspiracy isn't just threatening the presidential residence, it poses a danger to the entire country." This was far more significant and deeper than the disloyalty of one person. Now decisions had to be made that would determine the country's fate. Unfortunately, these decisions would not be easy. President Biden, still dealing with the trauma and shock, took a deep breath and said, "We'll try to stop it. But we have to be careful, Kamala. The ones who betrayed us are the ones we trusted the most." Whether good or bad, at this point, trust had been shattered, and everything could now be reshaped. Harris, more determined, said, "But we can act together. Our mission now is to rebuild trust. We won't leave anyone behind, but our main responsibility is to ensure the security of the country, so we need to tread carefully. There is a major threat from both outside and inside. Tonight, we've reached the end. This night will go down in history." And then, the biggest surprise happened. The identity of the traitor inside was finally revealed. It was an unexpected moment. The person they trusted the most, the president's closest friend, someone who had been by their side for years, was the one linked to all these leaks and the conspiracy. Facing this truth shook both of them deeply. President Biden repeated, "Him? That man?" The shock of the betrayal hit them both hard. This person had been part of Biden's campaign, supported him during his toughest times, and had been someone he closely followed every step of the way. And this person was not just a traitor, but an enemy. Kamala Harris, looking at the president patiently, said, "Yes, Joe. Unfortunately, it's him. We can't trust anyone anymore. The one we thought would protect us was actually the one trying to bring us down. This was a harsh truth that felt like a blow. President Biden, in disbelief, took a deep breath and said, "So tonight, here, we've lost control. We have to stay 2 steps behind everyone." And at that exact moment, the hidden betrayal and dark secrets from the past all came together in a dark game. The identity of the traitor was finally revealed. The person they had trusted the most inside wasn't just anyone. It was the president's closest friend. In the end, Biden and Harris realized they were not just uncovering a deep betrayal, but had been drawn into a conspiracy that could threaten the future of the entire nation. The story ended, but they would never forget this night. If you enjoyed this story, share it with your friends and don't forget to subscribe for more mysterious content.